This is CG Ruthless Sports. I will be brutally honest. Ain't nothing but being brutally honest. Coming at you with another video.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Laurie Fitzpatrick. How's it going?
It's going pretty good, man. All season isn't too crazy, which is cool. No Aaron Rodgers talk, not like last year. So, yeah, it's pretty chill. Thank you so much for having me.
That's great. Yeah, it's good to have you back once again. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, so I've been, writing a lot for USA Today on Touchdown Wire. The draft just ended, so we're pretty much just doing off-season stuff. So, yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter. I also have a YouTube channel, Ponytails Talking Pigskins. So, yeah, that's where you guys can catch me.
Yeah, I put your channel right down in the description. So if anybody wants to find her channel, she does some good breakdowns, especially for the Jaguars, but she does a little bit of everything. So she does USA Today, which is interesting. That's a grind, right?
Yeah, so it's all of the NFL. But yeah, I kind of started out with the Jaguars a couple years ago. They kind of put me on the map, so I'm really fortunate to have them just always in my corner. Tons of the Jaguar fans follow me, but I'm starting to get a little bit more traction with a couple other different teams out there. So every single time I write an article, I'll usually do a YouTube video about it, just breaking that player down or that team or that scheme or whichever comes to mind. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So what really stood out about you about the Jaguars during the offseason?
So I'm pretty sure they're gonna go a bunch of defense. Like it's gonna be a huge defensive minded team next season. I think they want to take a lot of the pressure off of Trevor Lawrence. They want, as you guys know, they drafted Devin Lloyd. Then they brought in Foye from the Atlanta Falcons, which was, he had, I think, the most tackles in the NFL last season. So they needed that sideline to sideline guy after they got rid of Miles Jack. They still have Tyson Campbell, who's a corner who from Georgia. He's really kind of setting his own ways. They have Shaquille Griffin from the Seahawks, who did okay last year. He wasn't like that great or anything. But then they got Darius Williams, that corner from the Rams. He played a lot of nickel. He might play some outside. But then, you just go back to Josh Allen, who did, he had kind of an off year with Urban Meyer in there, who didn't really help him out that much. There wasn't really any pass rush. So now that they have Trayvon Walker, who is the number 1 overall pick, he's going to come in, put a little bit of pressure so Josh Allen can kind of finally get back on the map, honestly. So yeah, I think their defense is going to be more of a staple than the offense. Maybe not quite, Saxonville days, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be more defensive minded.
Yeah, because I don't understand how you guys would get rid of so much talent, but now that you guys are more focused on improving the defense, and then you guys address offensive linemen during the offseason. But what reflected you when you saw Urban Meyer getting in trouble and then he eventually stepped down?
I kind of got caught in just the middle of all that. Being a writer for the entire NFL, you're not really supposed to have a bias or anything, but I took it more of an optimistic route with Urban Meyer, not knowing his background, not knowing much about college football, to be honest. I'm more about player with fundamentals, and then I watch all of the NFL. I never really watched college. So I didn't really know what I was kind of walking into, being optimistic, not realizing that he was going to, F us all over, so I wasn't really sure what was going to happen kind of coming into the last season. So it was definitely really disappointing. And you thought that he was going to be more of a team oriented guy. And it just seemed like he was really, all about himself. So, I would just say disappointing was where I can go with that.
Yeah, it was disappointing because you would have thought maybe he would have been kind of like a Jim Harbaugh type hire because of the good resume and all that stuff. Corey, she's a Jaguar. Are you a Jaguars fan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm since I work for the Touchdown Wire now, I can't really say that I'm a fan of any team. But when I was younger, I grew up in Philadelphia, like the suburbs of Philly. My whole family is Eagles fans. So, I know a lot about the Eagles. I really liked them growing up. When I was old enough to start playing Madden, picking up the sticks, I used a lot of the Jaguars back in 1999, using Fred Taylor, MJD, that stellar defensive line. Jimmy Smith throwing it from Mark Brunell, like those old days. So I really liked playing with the Jags. So I kind of stuck with them. So I would say Jaguars and Eagles, those would be the two teams that I follow like the most.
Understandable, but I put you in the Jaguar category, so
yeah, there you go.
Because it's hard to find one.
Yeah, no, and I started writing for them for Big Cat Country. They really gave me a chance back in 2017. I attended the draft in Philadelphia, and that's really where all this kind of started. I was getting retweets from people that I met there at the draft, and they kind of all put me on the map too. So it was like, the Jags kind of helped me out in that aspect, and because I know a lot about the team. And like you said, there's not a lot of Jacksonville Jaguar followers. And I mean, they're a big staple on Twitter, but like they have one of the biggest Twitter fan bases, which is kind of crazy. If you say anything bad about them, they will hunt you down. Like it's pretty serious. So, you gotta, it's a love relationship with them. So, yeah, I mean, I would say so definitely on the Jaguars side. But I can't have a bias. You just can't, writing about every team. Yeah. Because then, nothing will be taken seriously. So being, a fan of the Jaguars kind of growing up, their losses made me watch more of the NFL. So I was able to appreciate more teams because it's like, why am I going to watch my team lose every week type of deal? So I got into just the playmaking in general and, the fundamentals in each player, really getting excited for the draft, as a Jags fan follower for like these last, 15, 20 years. It's like, all right, who are we going to pick in the draft this year? So that's how I kind of got started into the draft. It makes you love every team, to be honest, and just love the game in general. Having a team that like that you watch lose every weekend, so
you start to grow into a fan when you see the team go through struggles. And just from being a 49ers fan, I didn't experience much winning seasons in my early years. It was a lot of losing, hard times, and I got the hang of it. And some people would just say it's hard to question the fanhood, but I got to be realistic with the team. And sometimes the Niners community, they can take offense if you're saying something differently. And I just keep it real, whether they like it or not.
Well, I mean, that's what you got to do. You have to keep it real. But you guys didn't really have it hard. Come on, you had Joe Montana, Steve Young, like, come on.
Yeah, see, the old rings. That's all people talk about. Oh, we got the old rings, but that's pretty much all they.
You had VD. Now you got Fred Warner. I mean, you guys have always kind of been relevant, but there were those couple years, I would say, like in the early 2000s, around that area where there wasn't really much going on. So I guess I can, you can resonate with me a little bit, but San Fran has always been really on the map. So
it's always been like a rich historic franchise. It just hasn't been in the right direction. Like You could say it's winning seasons, all that. For under Shanahan, it's kind of been ups and down. But when you look at the team, you are right. We do got talent. It's just I don't know how it's going to turn out to be, but we might have a different offense with Trey Lance. That's what everybody's wondering. That's the one question mark. Everybody wants to know if Trey Lance could be the answer.
Yeah, that's honestly what I want to know too. I think he's ready though. You don't think he's ready?
I think he's ready. I just think he'll do a lot better than what Jimmy has right now because the arm talent, everything. He's looking good in training camp. Not training camp, I mean meeting camp and OTAs. He was looking really flashy. But the media is kind of stirring up stuff, so I don't get it. Like, what is it? What do they make it up for? Oh, Jimmy's still here. All this stuff. Oh, come on.
I mean, it's hard though when you have a player that takes you where Jimmy took you. How do you just set that to the side? So it's tough. It's tough. It's a big question mark, and it's like, do we give up on this guy that took us to the playoffs and took us this far? Because you don't know what Trey's going to do. So are you going to have to hit a reset type of button in order to have more snaps for Trey? It's kind of tough because you have the players to win now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the wide receiver room looks a little thin though, but I mean not thin as in they have a lot of wide receivers, but in terms of like, playmakers, there's not like a ton. I think you guys need to kind of maybe go after another guy.
Oh, so speaking of wide receivers, since you're not very familiar with what we do in wide receiver room, I mean, of course, Debo's been the drama. That's been the issue going on with the offseason. But Brandon Ayuk is pretty underrated. Like
He is.
when he gets on track, this guy can ball out. Juwan Jennings is one of the sleepers, one of the up and coming wide receivers we got. And then we just drafted this kid from SMU with top speed, and then we just got this one guy from the Steelers, Ray McLeod. I mean, it may not be like the top flashy name receivers, but we make the most out of it with the system.
Yeah, I mean, I do like Danny Gray. He's a guy that he's a little bit older in terms of draft, like rookies. But I mean, I really like him a lot. He can be that inside guy that you can rely on. So I do like him. And I'm gonna have to watch some of the film on that other wide receiver you were saying that's kind of a sleeper. Who, Jennings?
Yeah, Juwan Jennings. Like if you'll be amazed, just check out some of his film from last season and look more into look into his season in Tennessee or any other way. But the recent season, the second half of the season, he was stepping in. There was quite a few plays where he didn't get the stats by any means, but he did a good job as a blocker.
Okay. I mean, do you know what's going on with Debo though? Honestly, I mean, they kind of wish that they signed an extension a little bit ago. I bet now.
Yeah, a lot going on. I guess, like they say, a little trouble in paradise. But he showed up. He was during the Niners media camp, so he's been there. But it's been a lot of this. He doesn't want to be here or this contract talk. I mean,
he doesn't seem like a player that's going to sit out, though. So I mean, he's there. That's the most important thing. He wants to play ball, and I still think he can be effective doing a similar. Like having the similar role that he had. I mean, just not running the ball as much, like not taking as many handoffs, but still taking the handoffs because that's how they win. So I don't see him like saying no in the middle of the game, when they're like, all right, let's do a jet sweep. And he's not going to be like, no. So I just think it's going to be the same thing. He probably just wants a little bit more money.
I think that's what I've been saying before. I think it's a lot to do with contract leverage. Hey, I don't want to play any running back until you pay me type of talk.
Yeah, because those, I didn't play in the NFL or anything, but playing running back, you get knocked around a lot. Those, you can have a couple 1,000-yard seasons, but, unless you're like a robot, they don't last long. So he wants to last a while. And if he's not going to last a while, he wants to at least get paid for it. But yeah, I wouldn't worry too much. Shanahan wants him. He's made that really clear. So
Yeah, he's made it pretty clear. And speaking of how you're saying about how this offense has been running with Debo, yeah, they're not going to try to use him as much this time because we just drafted a running back. So it's going to take away the pressure off of him. And maybe every now and then he might just get one or two plays of those type of plays and that's it. Or maybe not. Maybe every now and then he'll get opportunities to do that.
Yeah, and you know who the Jaguars just they got ETN back, Travis Etienne from Clemson, and he didn't get to play last year because he ended up getting hurt in the first game of the season. So somebody asked if he would be happy with a Debo Samuel type of role, and he said yes. So I think that type of role is just going to be more of a staple in the NFL, like or throughout all the teams. Not everybody is going to perform like Tyreek Hill and Debo Samuel, but I think teams are going to try. And I think the Jaguars kind of got their Debo, Tyreek, and ETN. So it's just something that these players are going to have to, like it or not. You got the skill set. You got to get out there.
Yeah, so ETN, yeah, he was like a running back and catching the ball off the backfield too. I think he was supposedly supposed to be like a Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, and then Urban kind of came in and said, "Yeah, we're gonna line him out wide, too. So he's not just gonna catch out the backfield; he's gonna run some routes." So, I obviously with Doug Peterson, that's it's not Urban Meyer, so we're not really sure how that role is gonna go. But he did mention that he would line up outside sometimes too, and Doug Peterson kind of runs that West Coast offense where you're gonna take a lot of those screens and things like that. So I think he's definitely going to fill that role. At least, there'll be some similarities.
Speaking of similarities with the receiver that you're referring to, I think that the one that's the closest to a Debo Samuel that has the same body skill set is Chenault.
Yeah, that is true. He's just, man, I don't know if he's going to play a lot. Doug Peterson, they asked him, what his role might be, and they had Chenault kind of taking kick returns. So it's like, is he just going to be a special teams guy? Like, it doesn't seem like there's going to be, a role for him just because he's not out there breaking a ton of tackles. There was really only one really good play where he broke a bunch of tackles and broke it big. There were some blocking issues when it comes to screens and things like that. It didn't seem like the offense was on the same page. Either the ball was coming out late, the receiver was going too deep into the field, like the depth was wrong. The wide receivers weren't out there blocking. They just got rid of DJ Chark, who was an excellent blocker on the outside. But they did get a tight end in Ingram from the Giants. So he's not much of a blocker, but they did invest in some tight ends. So I think that there might be a little bit better blocking, but it just didn't seem like Chenault really has that like really good skill set in either direction. He's not taking a handoff and getting to the outside. Like, he's not fast enough to get to the edge. He's not breaking enough tackles to go up the middle. Like, he's not running the right routes. When he does run the right routes, he's not catching the ball. So it just seems like everything he was kind of doing wasn't really working. So, this is a prove it or lose it year for him, like, without a doubt.
I think that's what's going to happen because no DJ Chark, you got other guys who have to step up and prove it. So I think Chenault might be one of your sleepers because all the expectation of him, he didn't pan out. Maybe this is the year where he wants to prove it and get a big contract.
Yeah, he has to. Like, he has no choice. They picked up Zay Jones from the Raiders, who is actually kind of good. It's a really big contract that they gave him, but I still think he can be okay. Marvin Jones is obviously still there, and then they picked up Christian Kirk. So they do have there are 3 starters. Good.
Yeah, Christian Kirk. Now that kind of slips to my head a little bit because you guys paid him like pretty good money, and he's kind of like a really good slot receiver when you speak of it.
Yeah, so he is going to line up a little bit, outside too. And, I took a look at his stats, and every single year he went up in stats. There wasn't a year where he had like a down year or anything. He's playing on the outside just not just as much, but he's playing on the outside and the inside, and he's performing in both. I think that like it's kind of like a Devonta Smith situation with the Eagles where he's an X receiver, but he's a good slot. So they'll line him up everywhere. That's what I think they're going to kind of do with Christian Kirk. He's going to not just be, the slot receiver, but he's going to be the X that can line up anywhere. So
Yeah, because he was a slot receiver. Like as soon as he played slot receiver in Arizona, his production went off the roof last year because they tried to put him at number 2 or other spots, and he just wasn't able to produce. And plus, he was injured too. So that was the only question mark for Christian Kirk the previous year before he broke out with the Cardinals was he couldn't stay healthy.
yeah, I don't think the Jaguars in general have like a great wide receiver room. So I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be tough, and that's why they kind of went all out on defense this year, in terms of free agency, in terms of the draft, to like really invest into the future, because I think they'll have to do a couple trades maybe, or see who's out there. I mean, there's not really much in free agency, but yeah, I don't know how well this wide receiver core is going to do. I don't know how well they're going to perform. Like, I don't think the offensive line is that bad, to be honest. But it's just tough. Like, the Jags don't have like that stellar wide receiver. They want it to be Christian Kirk. They're just hoping that it happens. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting season in terms of the wide receiving room. Anybody can step up at any time.
Yeah, you had that wide receiver with Chark, but you let him go. So it's like he could have been the guy, but I guess I can understand the guy was not able to stay much healthy. So it was like really tough but he was really good.
Yeah, I absolutely loved him, and I think his speed matched, like paired with his height, is just something that you don't see very often. And injuries like kind of go hand in hand with losing teams sometimes. So I think like if they would have just stuck with him and really let like Doug Peterson kind of do his thing, I think there could have been a chance that he would have really come back this season. But sometimes when you're with the team long enough, it's just time to cut ties. So I think that's the way he felt. Like, all right, it's time to move on. I've already wasted first 2 years of my when they're at their best, right? So he wants to try to maybe, I don't know, do something else. And now he's with Jameson, so over there with the Lions. So I think Jameson Williams that's going to be a deadly pair over there in Detroit.
Yeah, I think Jameson's going to be like one of those speedy receivers that they've been desperately needed in Detroit, and they got this Josh Reynolds kid too. So that's kind of, and then they got Jerichoff is no slouch. I mean, I felt like people were underestimating him, but I think Detroit got themselves a solid foundation future, even though some people in Detroit are saying, I don't think Goff's the answer. Well, he will be at this point because you guys are going to have to invest him. Or if not, then it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, sign Baker, right?
Hey, speaking of Baker, it's like no team wants him. I don't get it. But there's been talks with Carolina potentially going to acquire him or something. I don't know how that's been going, but it's been quiet now.
Yeah, no, it's like either they love it or they hate it. People are saying, Matt Rule needs to sign him in order to save his job or something like that. And then other fans are just like, if he signs him, then he loses his job. It's like either one or the other, So it's interesting. Yeah, I don't think really anybody wants him. Somebody tried to offer me a trade on my fantasy for Baker, and I almost, laughed out of the room. So I was like, absolutely not. Why would I give up, my picks for somebody that he's not even on a team? Like, I don't know. It's tough. I mean, he's obviously not that bad, but every team has a quarterback that's not that bad, so it's like, why get a guy that's a little bit better than not that bad? So let's just stick with what we got instead of trading, or spending the money on somebody that maybe isn't the best in the locker room, or it's just taking a chance. And it just seems like media has more of a say than anything. So it's like, what's the backlash you're going to get for signing him?
Well, there's quite a few teams who think they got they're sticking what they got, but they can do better. I mean, I hope it's not the case, but Seattle, they can do better than Luck. They can do better than Geno. They can get Mayfield, but they ain't gonna do that. They're gonna wait until he gets cut. Carolina, they can do better with Darnold. They can. I mean, you got
the Saints,
Houston. They can do better. It's like, but they're not doing it. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, there were some people out there saying that the Texans, they kind of like their quarterback Mills. I don't know, like it's not a great squad, but they're one of the teams that ended up getting like a bunch of picks, so I think they ended up doing pretty well. He's not going to be this amazing quarterback, but I think he can kind of take them where maybe they want to go. I don't know if Baker would be so much better, right?
I think as far as like a team, you can't go any worse with Baker. Like Houston, they like Mills. They want to give the guy a chance. It's all about opportunities because they're rebuilding. I get that part. But Seattle, why not? I mean, I hope it's not the case, but come on, Seattle. Come on, Carolina or New Orleans. You could do better than that.
Yeah, no, I mean, you do have a good point. It's just, it's tough because, yeah, I just don't see, Baker being any, like everybody already knows him, so I don't know. I guess these teams already know who their quarterbacks are too, but still, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's tough.
But when you put in that type of analogy, it's like Baker's like that one hot dude that most chicks should know to get, but they settle for the guy that's lesser. If you get what I'm saying. And Baker has better value, or Jimmy, one of the two. They're the best bachelors available, but they want to settle for less.
Thanks. You're not a Trey fan.
No. But I'm just saying, like in perspective, like that's just how.
No.
But I like Trey's upside. I think he's got the ability to be really good.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think so too. Like I said, I think he's ready. And in Shanahan's system, I think he'll be fine too. Players are gonna go through their, they're gonna have their lows, right? They're gonna throw their interceptions. But it's just something that you can't pull them out when they do go through that, because then it's just it'll be tough to to really dig yourself out of that quicksand, right?
Yeah. Oh, you know what? We forgot one other team, Atlanta. They don't even got a quarterback. They just got Mariota. Doesn't Baker make more sense? Oh, I guess my boy from the ATL. I guess he's kind of like wonder who you are and all that. I guess they like the sports talk. I guess there's a lot of good compliments that you know your stuff, and I like bringing intelligence, and you pretty much are spot on. You put on great breakdowns. And that's what matters. Like you keep on promoting your channel, you're gonna be successful, but you do like the article, so that's a grind.
Yeah, it is a grind. And so like trying to put out these YouTube videos on these on my articles and on a bunch of players, it is tough. And I would rather go that route, to be honest. Hopefully I can kind of move into that direction with my current with USA Today. Like it'll be awesome, if I'm able to kind of move more into video, because that writing, man, it's good to kind of break it down and really show what's happening in video, but the screenshots, then pausing the video and using your words, but typing it out. People like to read too, so yeah, it's just it is a grind, but I'm hoping to do more of those YouTube channels. So yeah, ponytails talking pigskins. I might change it to ponytails and pigskins, something like that. But definitely, check me out on Twitter too. So everything's going to be linked through there, but all football all the time. I try not to get too much into the NBA, just because that crowd, they kind of roast me with every take that I have. So it seems like stick to football. They'll even say it to me. So it's kind of
well. I mean, you have a good football channel. It's just you're not like because you got your own article. But as soon as you start getting that stuff seriously, you'll start hitting off like, see, this is what I like. I like to recruit, and I feel like you know your football, and I like bringing somebody who knows football. And I just think that you have a better understanding and you know more than what an average person would know because you are an article writer. You would know, and then you even played football in the women's league too. So
yeah, and that's really where it all comes from. Playing Madden back in the day, and then right after college. Or my senior year of college, I started playing women's football. So, running back, corner. Then I moved to another team. I played linebacker, a little bit of that. I was kind of a little bit of a gadget. Sometimes I even played some fullback, took some handoffs. Learned a lot of different offensive packages like the wing tee, the not just the shotgun but the pistol too. Doing a lot of reverses and counters, and I had to know the offensive line's jobs, how they're pulling, zone concepts, gap running concepts. So, I kind of had to learn the game from the ground up. But I was, I'm older. In my 20s. So most guys that play football, they lose all that information after they stop playing from, Pop Warner, or maybe if they play high school. But then they go into college and they don't play. So I was able to kind of learn all of this stuff again in my 20s. So it kind of like stuck with me a little bit. I was able to kind of like learn how to watch film and actually learn how to watch it, not just watching, as a fan, not watching the ball, seeing what these players do. And so that's really the funnest part, right? It's kind of looking at the fundamentals. I can kind of break down, what is he doing? And everybody on Twitter kind of like noticed, she might be onto something there. So I just kept posting, right?
Yeah, you're onto something, and I learned new positions because I played it before. Like I had to move from a defensive line position to convert to offensive line. But what gives me the advantage is I know what a defense is going to do. I have a better understanding of what they're going to go at or which direction, which is their weakness, and I can get that right there by just reading what they're going through. But yeah, but speaking of that, I know you got your little article to go at some point, and I definitely appreciate you for being on the show. We'll definitely need to catch up in the near future. Hey, like anybody else, if you guys want to get in contact with her, follow her on Twitter, and her channel is right down in the description. So you guys could definitely go check her content and her USA article, right?
Mm-hmm. On touchdownwire.com.
Yeah, Touchdown Wire. She's very good at what she does.
No, I appreciate you having me, and we definitely gotta get up during the season. I mean, I really like what the 49ers are doing. I wrote a piece on Drake, who's the defensive lineman that you guys picked up. He was really good at the Y9 at USC. So I think he's going to be really good with on the other side of Bosa, or even backing up Bosa at times. I think it's really going to be interesting. I'm going to be following up with what he does throughout the season. So I'd love to come on, and just talk straight up 49ers too. And maybe, Lawrence can do something this upcoming season, and we could talk a little bit about the Jags,
Yeah, I'm open for that. This is what I like. I like to find somebody with different perspective teams, and despite you doing what you do, I respect that.
I appreciate that, man. I already got a follower from a subscriber on YouTube just from this. Shout out to John Paul. So I appreciate you already. So thanks, man.
No problem. Those are I think it's one of the guys that does the wrestling content, because I have a wrestling audience too, but it's pretty cool. A lot of my followers like people with intelligence, but hey guys, me and Laurie are about to head it out. But as always, CG Ruthless Sports and Laurie Fitzpatrick is out, and see y'all later. Peace.